Finovate showcases cutting-edge banking and financial technology through a global conference series featuring short-form demos and thought leadership. Now, the conversation continues on the Finovate podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Finovate podcast. Joining me today, we have Melanie Pickett, head of the asset owner segment at Northern Trust. Melanie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Greg. It's great to be here.
So to start, can you give us just a little bit of a background on yourself and how you come to be at Northern Trust?
Sure. So I've been at Northern Trust for a little over 5 years. I had an interesting journey to Northern Trust in that I was a client before I joined. And I joined Northern Trust specifically to launch a fintech within the bank called Front Office Solutions, where we serve the world's largest and most complex endowments, foundations, family offices, and pensions, and help them really with the very complex portfolios that they're managing and some of the very complex data management challenges that they have. So I run the asset owner business at Northern in the Americas. We're about 1/5 of the bank's revenue overall. We've had a very long-standing, unwavering commitment to this business at Northern, and I'm proud and honored, having been a client, to now have the chance to build the products and services and deliver the capabilities that our clients need the most.
Yeah, what a cool transition. So, let's jump right in. We're going to be talking today about, how you are approaching digital evolution, both within your department and kind of with Northern Trust more broadly. Obviously, there's a lot going on, and I don't want you to feel like you have to cover on everything, but broadly speaking, what have you all been up to?
Yeah. So we talk about digital for a purpose, and that purpose for us at Northern Trust is delivering an incredible client experience. And so most of the work that we're doing is really focused on outcomes related to our client experience or our employee experience. And so we've been focused, within this front office solutions business and changing the way that we're working as a team, the platform, the data that we're delivering to our clients, and ultimately the client experience that we're able to give these incredible mission-driven clients of ours. So within the front office solutions business, I talked a little bit about the fact that I was a client beforehand. And some of the challenges, we had as a client were around how complex the data and the portfolios are that we were managing. And so what we've done at Northern Trust in building and launching this business is really build a new public cloud-based application that's a portfolio management solution for our clients. And we've paired that with, an incredible team of service professionals and developers and designers and engineers who are continuously deploying and developing new capabilities for our clients.
Yeah. So we had talked before we push record about some of the pieces that you're working on in terms of giving customers kind of, you have a unique set of customers and giving customers kind of some new tools to play around with. Can you start by talking about a little bit your customers, where they're coming from and how their needs are a little bit different from, I think, what a lot of our listeners might be coming from?
Sure. So Northern is global custodian, has a large institutional client base. These clients are endowments, foundations, family offices, really doing some of the most important work in the world with respect to the pools of capital that they're managing. These portfolios are incredibly intense and complex investment portfolios that are typically highly concentrated in alternative investments. And alternative investments are sometimes not transparent. They're certainly manual in nature. There's no, automated clearinghouse function as we think about with typical securities in an investment portfolio. And so the nature of curating and gathering the information about these investments, often it all lives in PDFs. And so when I was a client in my former role, we would receive 30 to 35,000 documents, for example, every year from our investment portfolios. And we would need to go through those documents, read them, obviously, tag them, store them, pull the information out, and then act on it. And it was an incredibly burdensome process. So one of the things that we've done within Front Office Solutions at Northern Trust is really focus on how we digitize that document capture and document procurement and data procurement process. So we've used some incredible natural language processing and machine learning capabilities to automatically go out to hundreds, tens of thousands of investment portals, pull documents down on behalf of our clients, take the valuation information and the transaction information out of those documents, use custom client models to actually go in and tag and store those documents to a client's document database, and really make that process so much more efficient and so much more timely for them. So as a result, our clients do not have to do that work themselves, and we're able to deliver to them their portfolio data in a much more timely and much more accurate fashion.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that sounds like a massive undertaking. Just the amount of documents and verification that you have going back and forth. I can imagine why everybody involved is pretty happy to have some good technology behind those solutions to make it a much simpler process. Now, I know that's not the only piece that you've been working on. How did you guys approach the decision around what areas you wanted to prioritize as you were looking to grow your digital capabilities? Were there specific pieces of feedback that you were taking into account, or were you looking kind of more from your particular pain points within your own organization? How did you decide where you wanted to spend your time and energy?
Yeah, I mean, I think having been a client, I think that my focus and our focus has always been very client centric at Northern anyway. And so we used and partnered with our human-centered research and design team at Northern to really go out and do very deep, detailed research with prospects and clients across the globe to talk to them about their pain points. And I was telling the story this morning internally. We had a deck of cards, and this deck of cards was, a group of different pain points that we knew our clients were struggling with across these portfolios that I talked about in these business activities. And so we had, each user or participant in the research process actually put this deck of cards out on the table in front of us and really sort of rank the things, the processes and the pieces of technology that were most painful to them on a day-to-day basis. We had them fill out Mad Libs about describing what the future might be like. And so we asked, 5 years from now, if Northern Trust were successful with this product, this is what would be easier about my day. And it was just a really fun, interactive way to get that feedback from our clients, but really focus on not solving our internal problems, but solving, the pain points that would resonate the most with our clients and prospects. And so I still, refer to those documents. I have them in my office. I think about them all the time when I think about the new features and the new functions that we're rolling out. I keep an internal checklist in my head of those pain points that our clients told us about, and making sure that we're always kind of doubling back to that as our mission.
No, I love that. What a good idea to kind of have everybody just have a deck of cards in their hand and be able to rank them in that way. And of course, I'm assuming you haven't made it all the way through the deck yet. Is that a realistic possibility, or will at some point are there more cards than you can reasonably bite off?
I mean, yeah, there's probably more than we can bite off, but to be fair, my development team has done an incredible job in this cloud native environment of deploying features and functions really on a daily basis. We're deploying code all the time to our clients, and so we're able to deploy features and functions on a very short cycle time, which means as we've put clients on the platform, we have now 36 clients or so managing about 450 billion in assets. Those clients have driven our agenda. So it's not so much, what did my clients tell me 3 years ago should be our priorities, but our current clients have certainly shaped the platform in the ways that are meaningful to them.
Yeah, giving people that level of insight, or getting the insight from those customers, is obviously really important. And I think there's a real strong takeaway there for anybody listening to this when it comes time for you in your organization to decide how you want to prioritize things. This seems like a really good way to go about doing it. Now, of course, it's never all.
I would just say, Greg, we, very recently with our clients, we developed, 2 different ways to look at a particular portfolio analysis related to portfolio liquidity. And it's interesting because my development team and my design team had, a bit of an internal debate over, how these features might best appear to a client. And so we took those 2 design options out to chief investment officers at our client base and really had the conversation with them. What do you want to see? What would you not want to see? And I think that, constant sort of research and iteration with our clients is what has made the platform successful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And being, again, in frequent touch with the people who are really important stakeholders for your organization is absolutely vital. Now that we talked about one side, kind of how you decided to prioritize which areas you wanted to go out and target. And then there's this other side of it, which is how you actually go and try and solve those problems. There's this sort of big debate right now in the fintech ecosystem, this kind of build/buy/partner. The idea being, how do you actually go out and get the technology that you want to implement? This is one that a lot of banks struggle with. What is your strategy, Ben, at Northern?
We've done a little bit of each, to be honest. And, the way that I started to approach that question was really to think about what part of the value chain to the client did I want to own and control, and what part was I comfortable, partnering or perhaps buying. And so for a global custodian, what we have focused on, for decades in our business is safekeeping and custody of assets. That's a commodity now. We have competitors. We have a ton of scale across the industry. We need to find new and interesting ways to add value to our clients. And the areas that we're focused on are really in the front office where our clients are making these investment decisions, these portfolio decisions. So for me, I wanted to buy and build, the capabilities that my clients would value the most. And that meant that we took a different approach than our competitors, where, that custody data just sort of got sent to different third parties. That did the portfolio analytics, did the enrichment of the data, really provided that front office investment decision-making capability to our clients. I didn't want to outsource that. I didn't want to give that value away to another third party. That would have been much cheaper, much easier for me to do. But what we wanted to do was really double down, understand our clients' needs, and invest in the capabilities that we knew, would bring them the most value. So some examples along the way, we bought a small fintech called Paralux Investment Technology, which had an incredible set of capabilities in this portfolio management arena. We then built a completely cloud native single page application on top of that to deliver a much more modern web-based framework with which our clients could interact with that data in a mobile fashion and on the road. But there are some cases where, we have partnered. And so we've taken equity investments in a couple of companies and partnered with companies where we knew we couldn't get the capability built fast enough, but we needed to offer it in order to kind of round out our product set. Or we, knew that we didn't have the internal expertise to build the capability. So one example is a company called Essentia. They have an incredible behavioral data science focused approach to understanding how an investment manager has created their returns, if that has been luck or that has been skill, is there persistence in that track record. But that's a set of data and data science and analytics, behavioral analytics that we were not going to be able to build or certainly build quickly in-house. And so that's a great example, where we took the partner approach instead.
Yeah, no, I think one of the things that really strikes me about this is, again, how strategic you've been in terms of what do you want to own at the end of the process and making sure that you come out of it with that technology that you created being your own technology piece that you have complete control over. Now, I know that was a lot of extra work. Given that, was it something that you think you would recommend to other people? Is it valuable to put that work in, or looking at it with the benefit of hindsight, do you think, actually maybe we ended up doing a little bit more there than we needed to do?
I think every company has to figure out where they want to play their bets. We can't, play them in all arenas. I'm really happy with the path that we took because in many cases, the partners that my competitors anchored on in terms of, just feeding data into this ecosystem, those partners were then purchased by larger companies or in fact, do not have the levels of investment that they need to remain competitive. And so I feel good that we control the value prop to our clients and we can control the level of investment going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So what advice do you have for people who are kind of struggling with this question right now? And it is one that I see a lot of people struggling with. Is there anything you can share with them that might help them kind of break whatever logjam they might be facing?
Sure. I mean, I think for me, again, it was, and it's kind of the traditional outsourcing question as well, as what do you want your core competency to be? We at Northern Trust are in an interesting space in that we're the smallest of the big custodians, the biggest of the small custodians. And so
Sure.
we're in an interesting sort of size where I can't be the low cost provider. I don't want to be the low cost provider. I don't have that level of scale. While we have significant scale, we're not, the biggest, right? And so I need to differentiate on product. I need to differentiate on service. And so that's where I've made, from a corporate strategy perspective, that's where we've made our investments. And so, we have taken a different approach. And that's really what the advice I would give, or the line of thinking certainly is, how are you competing? What is your core strategy? And if it's about, differentiation, then, that's where you need to make your investments. And that's where you need to control your destiny going forward.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's not one right answer here. There's a million right answers because there's a million different kinds of companies, and each company has their own different value chain, their own priorities, their own core competencies, as you mentioned. And so I think this is a really good way to think about it strategically and make a decision that ultimately will benefit yourself and your organization. So, we have time for one more question here. Let's end by zooming way out. Let's talk big picture, talk about the future. When you look into the future of Northern Trust 5 or 10 years down the road, what is the best version of Northern Trust that you can see? What's kind of the piece that you're striving for?
Yeah, it's that differentiation again. In this space, we have made a different, significant investment on behalf of our clients. And I want clients to want to become clients of Northern Trust because we have the products and services that they need. And they know that our people offer those with incredible service and incredible data quality. I think at the same time, I think a lot about our partners. We call employees at Northern Trust partners because that's the mentality that we have, across the bank. And so that partner experience is really as important as our client client experience. I told a client this morning, if I can have happy, engaged partners, I will have happy, engaged clients. And so we're spending, a significant amount of focus as well on what is that partner experience, what is the employee experience, and that will drive my client experience as well. So for me, 5 to 10 years from now, it's that I have doubled my market share because I have clients and I have partners, employees that want to work here, want to do business with us because we make it easy. And we do that, with an incredible experience for them.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the vision and I love the way that you're approaching things. Again, I think you're finding a really good balance between the sort of strategic side of it, but also recognizing that at the end of the day, this is a human facing industry and you need to have everybody in all sides of the equation being benefited by the technology that you're implementing. So it sounds like a very achievable goal. I mean, certainly is going to be a lot of work that would have to go into it, but based on what I know and what we've been talking about, I wish you all the luck in the world. Thanks again for taking the time to chat through some of the pieces you've been working on with me.
Thanks, Greg. Really appreciate it.
The Finovate podcast is produced by Informa Connect in association with Provoke.fm Media. Check out Finovate.com for information on Finovate's upcoming shows and to learn how you can get involved. The discount code Finovate Podcast will save you 20% on tickets to all of our events. And you can email us at info@finovate.com for information on sponsoring, speaking, or demoing. Thanks for listening.